everybody.
What's up? Give yourselves a round of applause. That's right. Thank you for coming.
Yes.
How are you both doing this afternoon? Good? Yeah?
So happy to be here. Thank you guys for coming, and we're excited to hear all your questions.
Excellent. I want to kick things off with a bit of an icebreaker. It's easy enough to look at your IMDb and see what your first role is, but I want to hear it from you in case it's not on your IMDb yet. So what was your first professional role, and how has that impacted your career and the choices you've made since?
Oh my God. No, you start.
So I have two iterations of professional acting. One was in New York, and then one was when I moved to LA. So that was a very long time ago, so I'm gonna just start with LA. LA, it was a movie called Leprechaun, Back to the Hood. My character was named Rory. I found the leprechaun's gold, and I didn't want to give it back. And the leprechaun came to the hood to get his gold. If you can find it, you're gonna have fun. It's a crazy movie.
I love that.
Wait, and this was in LA or New York?
This was in LA.
Okay, and what was the New York iteration?
New York was mostly stage.
Okay.
And I started to do a little bit of like a guest star here and there, but not that much.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, I mean, I started off doing theater really young, but it was never something I thought that could be a career. I didn't grow up with family that, was in any creative arts. They were farmers and entrepreneurs. So it's not something I knew or understood. It was just a hobby that I loved. But my first real speaking role, let's say that, outside of doing local commercials in Dallas, Texas, was a Christmas movie called like Three Wise Guys. And I think I had maybe one line, and I was like the hot date or something like that. So listen, you could have one line where you just ask somebody if they want to go see a movie at a bar, and they can turn you down, and you can still have somewhat of a career. So that's that.
Speaking of your career, I'm sure there's a lot of people out in the audience today that love The Boys, right? Yeah. I want to know about your audition process. What was the process for booking your roles?
So I auditioned in November of 2017. And it was just an audition that came through. I didn't even get the full script. I didn't know what the exact show was about. I just got the sides. And I went in for producers. Eric Kripke was actually in the room, the showrunner. And when I got there, it was just a room of buff brothers in the waiting room. I was like, all right, I can take him out, him out, him out. Those over there, I'm in trouble. But I went in and I gave it my best shot. And I noticed that in my improvisation, Kripke was dying laughing. He was cracking up. And the more he'd laugh, the more I'd improvise. And so I was like, all right, until they tell me to shut up or stick to the script, I'm just gonna keep going. And they let me keep going. And that was the beginning of the process. I was thinking, okay, now it's time for a callback, and I haven't heard anything. And my agent was like, no, there's no callback here. Like, that tape is what they're gonna judge you on. So that one shot was it. Oh, wow. And it was going all through Sony and all through Amazon, and of course, some people had their favorites and other people had their other favorites. And luckily, I was Eric Kripke's favorite, who fought very hard to get me the role, and here I am.
We're all just gonna sing Eric's praises. So I tested on a show called Timeless, and I actually got the lead role, Complicated, in Hollywood. I was on hold for a different show that I shot the pilot of, and I'm a very loyal person, so unfortunately when I booked Timeless, I couldn't do that role, and Eric was the showrunner along with Sean, and they had me come in and do like this cameo in the pilot. And it was wonderful and great, and life went on, and I went on to work on other things, and I was on a vacation in Spain, and I maybe had a few drinks. It was a different time zone, and I got sides for a show called The Boys. And I read the sides, and they were like, problem is we need this in the next 2 hours. Wow. And I'm like, okay, well, it's 1 a.m. here, and I've had 2 drinks, so I don't know how good this tape is gonna be. But I did it. I was like, I think it's the only tape I've ever done buzzed, which is so crazy. And I sent it in, and I got an email 2 days later from Eric before my agents ever called me, and he was like, I'm so excited you're gonna be my Becca. And I was like, wait, what? Is this a joke? And I went online, and I started to look at a lot of the comic book source material, and I had a lot of questions for him when I wrote back. I was like, so what exactly, because my scenes were very tame. They were like the first scenes laying in bed with Butcher and Becca, like having this conversation about Spice Girls. And when I read the comics, I was like, holy, what the F are we doing? I was like, surely we're not really gonna go as far as the comics. It'll be like a tamed down version, right? Like, what kind of genre really are you going for? And he's like, oh no, we're going there. And I'm like, let me look into what Becca does a little bit more. But anything in Hollywood where you get to work with people that are loyal and believe in you, you know, I'm on that train because it doesn't happen very often. So I feel really grateful that I got to play Becca Butcher.
I love that. Yeah.
I never thought of this. So technically, you're also Butcher.
Technically, I am also Butcher.
I'm calling you Butcher
Sans
from now on.
accent.
You should have never told me. I'm calling you Butcher from now on.
Both of your characters are so layered, and obviously they don't have superpowers, but I'm curious what their actual superpower is and how it kind of relates to the world of the boys, because they're both very empathetic and they both have very, very interesting backstories for both of them.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna lie. Every season before the season started, I begged for powers. I just, being on a superhero show with no powers just felt terrible. And it was around season 3 when my character had his backstory finally told, and it connected the story with Soulja Boy and Mother's Milk's family, that I understood a little more why I can't have superpowers. Because MM's real superpower is his heart. And he has to be able to tell the story that you can still have an impact without needing to have the superpowers that everybody else has. And I mean, it was a revelation almost. And I got it. And that's why that season, it was so important for me to show how fearless he was whenever he had to face Soulja Boy, and how ready to scrap he was. Like, literally every time he'd see him, he'd put his dukes up and he's like, challenge him, like, let's go right now. Even though Soulja Boy would have killed him with one punch. But in that moment, it was important to show what the power of human spirit is, what the power of human innovation is, of heart, of working together, that there's no obstacle that can hold us back when we operate, from a place of heart and justice and rightfulness and righteousness and spirit.
That was the exact kind of answer I was looking for. I love that. And then for Becca?
It's so complicated too with like what happened to Becca and the trauma that, was made clear throughout season 2 and what happened to her. I don't think that she would wish to have a superpower. Obviously in the face of everything, it's very difficult because her son that she loves very much is half Supe and half human. And there's that battle of wanting the human side of things to win, to not just use an obvious power to gain access or get what you want or be right. So, you know, I couldn't say what I think her superpower is, because I think she'll always hate, if you will, that side of who her son is and that side. But it's so interesting on the show because there's this conflicting feeling of it's all gray, right? Like humans aren't right and Supes aren't wrong and vice versa. It's really up to your own choices. And I think that was something that, like, I remember so clearly having the conversation with Butcher on the bridge and just telling him, and like trying to get through to him, because it was like, well, we just kill your son. We just kill everything that's superhero because it's bad, you know, and understanding that it was much more gray and complex, and really feeling like, maybe I would say her superpower is that, like, she really believed that the goodness of whatever is in there behind everything could be what came through. And that was always what I think she wished and hoped for, because her son is both, you know, and like to just believe that whatever is right and just and good would win, not human, not Supe. So.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good. What do you think her reaction would be to Butcher now that he has become the very thing that he's been trying to kill for all these years?
So complicated. You know, I don't think that it's hard to say that, like, she would judge, because it really depends on, you know, it's like you fight the thing that you didn't want to become, but okay, if you become it, what are you going to do with it? You know, who do you still choose to be on the inside? Do you just allow, like, a superpower in the thing that you fought forever and ever to not overtake you, and now you've become, like, do you allow that to be the overall, what's the word I'm looking for? Like, the overall characteristic of who you're defined by? You know, like, you don't, I get it. I get that there's, like, good, bad, Supe, human, like, but that's what I'm saying is there's still the gray, and the gray is that you could still choose what is right and just and good. And I don't know, she'd probably have some choice words, but I think that she always wanted to see and believe something deeper and better that was in everybody. And not, you know, maybe not Homelander. Maybe that one's a little bit of a lost cause for her. But, and I don't want to pretend like she's some, you know, perfect self-righteous angel by any means. But I do believe that she would want to see the goodness in what he was still able to do, if that's who he's become now.
That's a really good answer. Speaking of morally gray characters, it was making me think about the fact that MM is really, like, the only truly good character within this world of, like, morally gray characters. What is it like playing a character that has that, like, the moral compass for the entirety of everybody who's around them?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny how relative morality becomes, because MM was still killing people. Yeah. You know, it's not like he was also, as Shantel said, some angel and completely innocent of wrongdoing. But there was a sense of empathy that MM still had a capability of deploying when it came to dealing with Supes. He was still able to see the human behind the power. And I think that that's important, because one of the themes that the duality between Butcher and Homelander was scorched earth, was this need for revenge, this absolute hatred for what the other represented, that anything in between was just par for the course, as long as they could take one of each other, you know, one could take the other out. And MM was there to kind of remind Butcher that, you know, in some ways, you know, when you were answering the question, it kind of reminded, we were both kind of doing the same thing from different angles or different perspectives, which was reminding him that if you take this this approach, you're literally killing everyone and everything in the process, you know, and it was a consistent need to remind people of our humanity. Yeah. You know, let's not lose that, folks. Let's not forget, like, these are still people. You know, and so that was the constant struggle that we always tried to remind the audience that no matter how far into this battle, this war we're in, we can't forget that somebody loves them.
Yeah, that is true.
They got moms, they got kids, they got wives, girlfriends, brothers, sisters that don't see them like monsters. And so it's a very delicate balance that, you know, we were trying to always dance when it came to not becoming so robotic and kill, kill, kill that we lose that human side of it.
You know, I did say that Becca wasn't an angel and wasn't going to be self-righteous, but you know what? She didn't kill anybody, so I think I'm better than you somehow. I'm just saying, you know. But maybe I died before I could eventually. I think maybe had I
You were
lived,
tough.
Maybe had I lived, I may have taken a few.
You yelled at Butcher
Yeah.
way more than I did. And he took it. He just sat there and just took it.
But I also probably gave him other things that on the other side allowed me
True,
to, you
true.
know, yell. So.
Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely.
Oh God, I love that so much. The Boys has so much violence and high stakes and a lot of interesting content. And I'm really curious in making it, what some of the most fun moments are for both of you on set, or even just watching it and being like, that is the funniest thing I've ended up seeing on screen.
I mean everything. That's something that the show does not lack is shock value. And like I said in the beginning, when I was referencing to Eric the source material, they were like, no, we're not going to shy away. You know, I think for me, one of the funniest and most shocking things was I showed up. I was shooting another television show while I was doing The Boys, and it was in LA, so I would come in for a few episodes and leave. And when I was gone, you know, lots would happen, and I would come back, and there would be like a penis that was as long as this stage. Just laying in a corner, or showing up in photos, or in collages, and I'd be like, what the fuck show is this? What happened while I was gone? Or when I showed up for season, I was just sharing this, when I showed up for season 4, to do, I think it was the scene with Jeffrey Dean Morgan and I, you know, where it kind of like reveals who he is. I won't say in case you haven't seen it. And we were with Karl, and they set our 3 chairs up in this sex den. And I was like, we're not shooting. What is that? Oh my gosh, what is that? And I mean, I remember like taking a picture and being like, this is where my chair is set up, like where I go to like sit and read my lines and wait and rest and whatever. And I'm like, what have they been doing? And then there's a giant penis, another big giant one. And I'm like, this is just weirder and wilder. And, you know, I'm here for it. Okay. This is what people want. I guess this is what we're giving them. What was it for you?
I think for me, it was just the fun we would have, like clowning each other behind the scenes. It was just, you know, Karl is a prankster. I'm a prankster. Tomer, to survive our pranks, became a prankster. Jack was getting pranked on constantly. You know, we just had so much fun. Like it really was or is a family vibe and energy. And the funniest stuff wasn't even on camera. It was behind the scenes. And, you know, like I remember during Herogasm, the first episode, the first version of the script, because they give us rewrites constantly. The first version, wasn't getting covered in you know what. So I read the first version, and then I'm like, okay, cool, nothing happens to me this episode, I'm good. And then, like, one day, like, everybody's in the trailer, and they start making fun of me and laughing, and I'm like, what is going on? I want to laugh. What's so funny? And they're like, you haven't read the newest version? I'm like, yeah, whatever. I thought they were just they were trying to get me riled up. And I was like, I ain't tripping. And so when I left the trailer, I went to the PA. I was like, yo, can you please get me a copy of the latest version of the script? And she started smirking. Everybody was smirking. And that's when I went back to my trailer, and I'm going through, and I'm looking for my name, and I finally find it. That moment when MM gets the, throwing ropes. Yeah, exactly.
We'll just say slime.
Yeah. And so, like, immediately I send an email to Kripke, and I'm going back and forth, and I'm politicking, and I'm fighting, and I'm doing my best lawyering. And clearly I lost that exchange. Then there was another day on set when we're shooting out in like this, we were shooting Countess, this lady, the Red Countess, and it was in a rock quarry where we were shooting this scene, and the restrooms were like literally a mile down the road. It was hot. We were walking on rocks. Our feet hurt. And so I said, you know what? I really got to go to the bathroom. I held it for like 4 or 5 takes. I'm going to run to behind this trailer, and while nobody's looking, I'm just going to use the bathroom. So I go back there, and there are 2 construction guys back there also using the bathroom. So I go back there, and as soon as I come around, they start laughing. And I'm like, what the hell is going on with all the laughs? And then they turn around and they're like, yo, have you seen the test runs of your scene when you get basically hosed down? And I'm like, no, I haven't seen them. They're like, do you want to see it? So they had it. Everybody had it in their phones. I'm still trying to find it. It's in my phone somewhere. I just can't find it for some reason. So they had all of these test runs, and they're basically wearing these white painter's outfits with these masks on, covered from head to toe, and they're getting blasted by cannons of like white substance. And what they were trying to do was find the right texture. So they had like 50 trials, and the guys are like completely soaked, and so now I'm mad. I'm like, this is what they're gonna cover me in? Like, this is ridiculous. Some was like super foamy, some was like looking like Ghostbusters, like you're completely cut. It was bad. It was bad. But those are like some of the funnier moments.
Yeah.
That you'll never get to see.
No.
But my therapist
Yes.
did get to talk a lot about.
You know, it's interesting. My first day that I showed up on set to shoot, was when I was like finding out that I was like kind of like the scenes where the doctor tells me I'm pregnant, and you see like the glowing eyes thing, and then they were like, okay, we have this animatronic belly that like a hand is gonna come out of, and then you're gonna like gush blood everywhere, and I'm like, I'm sorry, what is happening? And then you're gonna wash off, and then you're gonna go do your sex scene with Karl, and I'm like, hi, nice to meet you, Karl. Okay, so I'm sorry, I'm giving birth to an animatronic, half soup, half human. Cool. Yes, I definitely know how to play this as an actor. And I come in like, you know, the gown, and they have like this weird strapped on belly thing. And then they're like, hop up on the bed. And I was like, okay. And running down the bed is like a construction tube, like a tube. And it's running down, and they're like, okay, just spread your butt cheeks and straddle it. And I'm like, I'm sorry, what job am I doing? Okay, so I get on the bed, and I'm straddling like this huge, like, it literally looked like a tube for plumbing in a building. And they were like, okay, so same thing, we're gonna do some tests. We're gonna see how the force of, whatever's supposed to be coming out of you, blood and baby guts. And I was like, was so interesting. I'm so confused because I'm also like flying in from LA doing a very different show about like 1960s space. And now I'm here and I'm giving birth to an animatronic baby. And like, hi Karl, nice to meet you. Okay, Eric, what are we doing? Okay, yes. And you're just gonna squirt blood all over people. And I'm like, I don't know why I chose this job. Like all the time on that show, I would be like, this is not what I thought I would be doing when I thought I'd become an actor.
But you know what? With him, it's like once he figures you out, what you don't like, get ready. He's gonna write a lot of it. That's really what it was. Because was safe. Seasons 1 and 2, I was clean. Until like somebody let him know that I like to be clean.
Weren't you the one that got choked by the long
Thanks
male
for
appendage?
the reminder.
But that's what I'm saying. But that, like, as you were telling the story, I was like, but you were also picked on because you were the one that it like found.
Yeah, but
And then decided to choke, and I was
Shantel,
like, huh?
Shantel, I got this. I don't need your help.
I feel like he just always picked on you, you know?
I was still clean, though. I was still clean.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah, it was bad. It was bad.
I see we have our first fan question.
We all know Kripke loves his music, and all our favorite shows have theme songs. What is your personal theme song?
Like for the character?
From the show?
No, yours specifically.
Just in
Like
life.
mine is I Get By With a Little Help from My Friends, the Joe Cocker version, not the Beatles version. But what would your personal theme song be?
Yes, I know, because I love music. Me personally as Shantel, the song that would be my theme song. I mean, I was going to choose Pour Some Sugar on Me, but replace sugar. But that's for you.
No,
that's for you.
No,
I want
no.
you to carry that in your life,
You can have it. Trust me, I don't want it. I've had enough sugar for one lifetime.
Let me think. That's a good question.
I'm gonna stick with the show, only because of the fact that Kripke loves music so much. There's certain songs that will forever be an emotional trigger for me that would have never happened had I not been on this show. And one of them is the Beach Boys. What's the song? That love you. I'm a terrible singer.
I would never have known.
Yes. That song is forever like embedded in my heart. That was season 2 or 3. I think it was season 3 finale episode, the closing montage. And it was like me like picking up my daughter. Gets reunited with his daughter and he hugs her, and it's on my playlist now on my Spotify, and I love it. But I had never heard the song before prior to being on the show. So it's a very important song.
I choose Here Comes the Sun by the Beatles for me. Yeah, it's one of my favorites.
That was a great question.
I know that one.
Yeah.
What's your name and what's your question?
My name's Tristan. I was curious, so I'm a big fan of Supernatural, and I don't know if you guys have seen it. If not, I kind of have a two-parter, but if you've seen it, how do you guys feel about Eric Kripke's growth as a creator, show director, and things like that? And if not, you guys have both said you've read the comics. I'm hoping everybody has. How do you feel the show compares to the comics when it comes to things like your baby not necessarily being in the comics for most of it? We know what happens if you've read it, but how do you feel it compares?
I never really watched Supernatural. I didn't grow up having a television. So for me, there's a lot of television that I still have never seen. Game of Thrones, I don't know, so many things. But I do know a lot about, the show Supernatural. And I, of course, think that, having been on another show of Eric's, Timeless, I've been able to see different iterations of somebody's career. And whether you're an actor, producer, director, I think the dream is to always evolve, evolution. There's this amazing quote that I had one of my dearest friends say to me, which is like sometimes you want your career to be evolutionary, not revolutionary. You don't want just to have like this one big hot moment. Instead, you just want to like quietly evolve and learn and grow and show up in new and different evolved ways. And that's something that I appreciate about Eric, but also in every iteration of a show or the ways that he shows up, how he's loyal to people and believes that as actors, we can do a different job more than just what we were in this show. We can do different parts. And that's something that really is missing in my mind in a lot of Hollywood. There is a lot of creative limitations to what maybe you look like or a way that you've gotten pigeonholed by certain shows. So that's my answer for that one. The comic, how do I feel? I mean, I always love, personally, when they take creative choices beyond the source material. I appreciate the source material for what it is. I actually am a big comic book reader, and I appreciate comic books, but like when they remake something, sure, take, parts of, the heart with it, but make it your own. It's the same thing when you make a character, like, and everybody has differing opinions about it. Some people are like, no, you have to stick strictly to this. It has to be this. This is who Superman is. This is who, Batman is. And that's fine. But I personally believe that as actors and humans, we have something to bring to each character that is different than anybody else, that is different than what's written, or different than, a different iteration that somebody may have played of that character. And that's what we're doing, is playing and making it our own. So I appreciate that.
I unfortunately never watched Supernatural. So this was my first experience working with Eric Kripke on a professional level or being exposed to his work. And it was a great experience. It was probably my best experience in the business as a professional actor, primarily because he had an open door policy when it came to collaboration. When we'd get a script, he would allow us to pitch different ideas if we didn't like something, or if we had an idea, or if we thought maybe could we change this, whether it's dialogue or even content. Some things might not necessarily be completely in line with what happened a season before or 2 seasons before, and he really trusts us to know our characters and to be experts in our characters. MM specifically had to be an expert, not just of the character, but also the region, because he was the only New Yorker on The Boys. The Boys takes place in New York, but, Butcher is from, New York in the house. All right? So, Butcher's from the UK, Frenchie obviously is from France, Kamiko, Japan, Starlight's kind of like from Anywhere USA, and so MM was from Harlem. It was specifically from Harlem. And so there were a lot of Harlem-isms that had to be infused in the story that were not there on purpose. Eric never tried to become an expert on Harlem. He let me do that. That's my job as the actor. And so he would give me license to add things, whether it be in the clothes, in the shirts, in the shoes, in the music, in references, in dialogue, in how he says certain words, and how he expressed himself. He gave me that license, and as an actor, to be able to have that much control over your character and not somebody just telling you, look, just say what I told you to say, don't ask any questions, that feels really good. As far as the comic books are concerned, from day one all the way up until the last scene that we shot in season 5, we've always tried our best to be as homage-driven as possible to the character from the books. We really, really value the original core audience that came in already fans of the show, and we didn't want to let them down. Obviously, there's some changes because the show is satirical and narrating today's times, and that the comic was narrating times in the 90s. So there's some changes that we had to make, but for the most part, we always really made it our primary focus to try to be as authentic as possible to the source material.
That was a great question. And I'm going to follow up on the supernatural of it all, because in the upcoming season, we have a couple more supernatural actors who are going to be on it. What was that like for you to see them? Because they have such a established language with each other, and they've done that show for so long. What was it like having them come into the show and get to be part of that family?
You know, I would never have known how successful Supernatural was by the way that they behaved on our set. I say that in the most complimentary way, because they came in super humble. They came in super we're not coming in like, hey, we're the Supernatural guys. Move over, go grab me a coffee. No, they were so kind, so humble, so giving. This is you guys' world. Thank you for having us, in your world now. And they were just and they were amazing, amazing actors to work with. Not just as far as competency as an actor, but just hard working. The Boys is a tough show. One thing I won't, dress up, is that that show kicked my ass every single season for 5 seasons. It's a 14, 15-hour day. You're going to get dirty. You're going to get wet. You're going to be cold. You're going to be outside. You're going to be in the worst weather. Covered. If you're covered in blood, it's going to be in the summer when the flies and the mosquitoes and the bees will attack you. And if you're covered in anything wet, it's going to be in the winter so that you can freeze your ass off. They're going to find a way to make it hell. But, they came ready to play, and they weren't expecting any type of different treatment. They came and they worked hard, and they were in the dirt with us. So I got tons of respect for those guys.
Excellent. What's your name and what's your question?
Hi, I'm Mitchell. This is for Laz. Your character, MM, is also known for wearing different T-shirts of hip-hop groups and artists like Outkast, Eric B. and Rakim, and MF Doom, to name a few. On the show, what was your favorite hip-hop shirt that you wore, and did you keep it after the shoot?
First of all, I kicked myself in the head. That's the only mistake I made, was I didn't steal the shirts. I didn't steal the shirts. I would give them back. I should have kept the shirts. I would say my first shirt that I wore of a hip-hop artist, well, actually, my first shirt was Public Enemy, but my favorite was Wu-Tang. Yes. I wore that episode 1 of season 2, I believe. Yep. And I'm going to tell you why it was my favorite, because after season 2, I did a guest star on another show, and Method Man was on that show. And Method Man thanked me for wearing a Wu-Tang shirt on The Boys. Little did I know, he's a comic book head. He loved The Boys comics, and he loved our show. So watching the Wu-Tang logo show up on the show, he was really humble. So that'll always be a moment that I never saw coming. And then, after that, it just became part of my job now. I had to constantly work with the wardrobe department, the wardrobe department was amazing. We had to go through clearances and go through Sony and Sony Legal. And it was tough. Some of these artists, we had to reach out to them personally, because it's hard to get their representatives to give us permission to wear their stuff. And we needed it to air it. So yeah, it became an additional job, but we knew how important it was to the fans.
Great question. We are down to the final question. What's your name and what is your question?
My name is Spencer, and I was wondering what each of your favorite memes are from The Boys.
Ooh. I'll let you.
I don't know. I honestly, I don't even know what memes are out there. What is a meme? Is it a GIF?
Anything with Homelander, bro.
Well, yeah, of course,
He's got
because
the
this
best-
is ridiculous.
Oh
I mean, the
my God.
faces that he made. I mean, I remember just shooting across from him and being like, what the fuck is his face doing? Okay, I can't be thinking about that. Yeah, I guess anything with Homelander.
Anything with Homeland, it's hard to pick one. Like, I literally have sent him every meme I've ever found of him. And he loves them. He loves them too. He's obsessed with his memes. Like, yeah.
Of course he is. Of course he
like,
is.
He's like, oh, I love my memes.
Okay, but you know what? I'm going to tell you a story. If there was a meme for this, it's an outtake that you guys will never see, and it's a moment that I have told Karl I was going to tell at everything ever because it's the best. So hopefully everybody here has seen season 2. I die, and when I was dying in his arms on the floor, it was freezing cold. I'm covered in blood. Same thing.
Hour 14, I'm sure.
Oh, for sure. Sun is setting. Hurry up.
Outdoors.
We're gonna shoot Karl's coverage, and I'm off camera, so I'm laying on the ground, but I'm there so that we can say our final words to each other, and it's his close-up, so the camera's basically right next to my face here, and he's like saying goodbye to me, and they roll, and he does one, and he's like, no, I'm gonna do it again, and he leans down out of frame, and he wipes his fucking snot on my cheek. Like on my face, like drips his snot on my cheek, and then he came up out of frame because he was crying so much and his head is down, and says the line, and they're like, and cut. And I looked at him and I was like, did you really just wipe your snot on my face? And he's like, well, what was I supposed to do? I was like, use your sleeve. And he's like, well, it's dirty and bloody. And I was like, come on. That's how much I love
That's very
him.
Karl.
Yes, 100%.
That's very
And we
Karl.
were laughing about it, post him sobbing his eyes out. But it's one thing to like cry and snot be dripping down, but like full on wipe it on my. So I guess if I could have a meme of that, like an outtake, that would be great.
Gosh, what a way to wrap up this panel.
I got things on me as well, that weren't scripted though.
You beat me. You got me beat.
Well, thank you both for coming. This was fantastic. If you didn't get to ask your question, you are at your tables this weekend, so they can.
We're
come and ask you.
next to each other, so you can't miss us.
That's it.
Yeah.
Roommates.
Come see it. Yes.
Come on, come by. Bring a pop doll.
Love it.
So let's put our hands together.
Thank you guys.
Thank you.
You guys, please give a huge round of applause, everybody, for Laz and Shantel.